Right then, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be back. How are we? Welcome back to the channel. As always, it's nice to be with you this Tuesday evening. A big week for Celtic for a number of reasons. Number one, Feyenoord in the Europa League. And, I've accepted the truth, and we'll come back to this maybe later on in the stream. I've accepted the fact that we are out of the competition. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try, but I've accepted the fact that we're out of the competition. But a huge game nonetheless, heading over to Rotterdam, take on a team who formerly beat us in a European Cup final in 1970. A huge week because it looks as though we might be getting our new manager through the door any kind of moment now, any day now. And ultimately, finally, Martin O'Neill could manage his last game as Celtic manager, either Thursday night or this weekend, most likely this weekend. So it's a big week at Celtic, a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. We're going to iron over all the details we know thus far on this stream tonight. We obviously know a lot that's already out there. What I said in yesterday's video is pretty much the up-to-date story with the incoming of Wilfred Nancy, but we have a little bit more detail on the execs, the members of staff that will be coming with him, and even reports about the potential first signing of the Wilfred Nancy era. Now, I'm not going to get drawn into all of that too much, but it is worth a conversation on tonight's stream. And then, of course, for a good 15-20 minutes or so, I want to take your questions and get your answer, or sorry, give you my answers, because ultimately this is a hectic week and there's going to be a lot of thoughts flowing, a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, a lot of optimism, and a lot of pessimism. And that's understandable when you're going through such a significant change midway through a season here at Celtic Football Club. It very rarely happens, and who knows, it might never happen again. It might not happen for years. So we've got a lot to talk about. Before we talk about all of that, though, I'd very quickly like to say, and you might have noticed there is a link pinned to the top of the chat. On that note, I'd quickly like to throw over to this screen here. Now, this is something set up by a good friend of the channel, and you might be familiar with the name Nathan. He is in charge of our quizzes over at the Celtic the Thunder podcast. He makes our half-time and full-time quizzes for us quite regularly. And this Christmas time, he's set up a charity appeal for food banks in Glasgow. So quite simply, if you want to help out and you want to donate, you can do that by either scanning the QR code or using the link that is pinned to the chat. Now, this is all for a good cause, of course. It's to try and help out with the food banks around Glasgow, Nathan's local food bank in Glasgow this Christmas time. Of course, so many people not as fortunate as the likes of me and a lot of these people watching today coming up to Christmas time. So Nathan has set up this fantastic charity appeal, which also that gives you the opportunity to win a signed Callum McGregor shirt. Not just signed, but a signed and framed Callum McGregor shirt. There is 19 spots remaining on the list for the charitable appeal in regards to winning that shirt. You can donate whatever you like. It doesn't have to be £10, but if you want an entry, one of the last 19 of those entries, if you want one of them, then, oh, by the way, Mortal, we'll get to that in a moment. Thank you, Mortal. You're an absolute legend. If you want one of those last 19 spots to win the signed Callum McGregor jersey, then either scan this QR code, use that link in the top line of the description, and donate £10. Once you donate your £10, get in touch with Nathan over on Twitter or X, whatever you call it nowadays. I've left everything on screen, the details you need on screen for that. Let him know your contact details and he'll be doing the draw once all of those spaces are full. You'll have a chance of winning, as you can see photographed here, that fantastic signed Callum McGregor shirt. So it's all very simple. Scan the QR code, donate £10, be one of the first 19 people to get in touch with Nathan during this live stream or after this live stream, and you could have a place in that draw to try and win the Callum McGregor shirt. It's all for a good cause. It is for one of the local food banks, and it would be appreciated. Nathan does a lot for the podcast, and this is my way of repaying him by giving us a shout out. We also might do a wee kind of charitable drive at Christmas time on this channel as well, totally unrelated. But yeah, there you go. Thank you to Nathan for always helping out, and if you can, please go and donate £10. It'll go a long way. So all the details are on screen. If you need to come back to it, rewind. If you need to pause it and continue the stream later, now's your chance, because I'm about to flick back over. Any questions? Anything? If you have any questions, let me know and I'll get back to them, don't worry. Right, let's head over to the stream for now. Nathan will probably pop in the chat at some point. And very quickly, before we get going, there he's there in the chat. If you've got any questions, feel free to direct them towards Nathan. He's a chat admin as well, so you can see him standing out there, Nathan Green 8375. Thank you to Mr. Wizard Morto, who has donated 10 Ryan118 memberships. Congrats to... I'm not going to read out all the names of everybody who picked up a membership, but congrats to everybody who picked them up. A big thank you to Mortal in the chat for the extreme generosity. You're an absolute legend, mate. I will stick £10 into the charitable appeal after the stream as well, just to make sure that your wish is granted. But thank you for that, Mortal. It is greatly appreciated. What a community we have here. Remember, you can always become a channel member as well if you've missed out. So, we should probably talk about Celtic and probably get tucking into that. I will extend the stream a little bit longer, don't you all worry. Wilfred Nancy, it looks as though he will be here very, very soon, because the reports that are flying, as we spoke about, that's the wrong screen. it would help if I had the right screen up. You can all see my live stream equipment there. That's a nightmare. Why has that happened? That never happens. Have I got the wrong monitor selected? God, we're off to a nightmarish start here this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Technical issues of going live, I suppose. I hope you can all forgive me if I quickly try and there's Motto with another 5 minutes. We'll come back to that in a second. Let me see if I can get this working. Is this it now? Are we here? Yes, we are. Sorry about that. Sorry about the technical difficulties there. Wilfred Nancy is close to becoming Celtic manager. That appointment should be happening within the next few days, according to a lot of the outlets floating around right now. And that is because of the huge advancement with backroom staff appointments as well. It was reported actually as an exclusive by Stephen McGowan last night. I was going to make a video on it, but I was too busy. I was going to make a video on it. So Wilfred Nancy will become the new Celtic manager, and it looks as though that he is bringing in the guys that he wanted alongside him as well. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but that was the news that came out last night. And in fact, if I just flick it over very quickly to that exclusive that was released by Stephen McGowan, he's bringing Kwame Ampadu and Yoann Damet to join him at Celtic as well. So it all seems like it's happening very, very quickly now this week. We should probably have an announcement off of Celtic over. I'm starting to think that it could be some point within the next 24 hours, and it looks as though we've got our man, we've got our new manager. Now, of course, we spoke about this. It's not exactly a huge breaking piece after what we spoke about yesterday, but we have the advancements about the staff that he's bringing alongside him. There was also an article that was wrote in a piece of writing that was saying that alongside Kwame Ampadu and Yoann Damet, that also an unnamed former Celtic related person will be coming in with him. Now, I always assumed that would be Sean Maloney. It doesn't necessarily say it's Sean Maloney. Apparently it's a figure that will be very well known in the Celtic support within Scottish football, and we'll see who that ends up being. But that is the big story for now, that it looks as though Wilfred Nancy will be through the door over the coming days. In fact, if I just flip it back over very quickly to myself, the Daily Record went on to say this evening that Wilfred Nancy is on the brink of becoming manager, and he's expected to be announced this week. He could even be in attendance for Celtic's game against Hibs this weekend at Easter Road. That's what the Daily Record are reporting. That he could be there this weekend watching on as Celtic play Hibs in Martin O'Neill's last game as Celtic manager. It was also reiterated in that same article that he has been Dermot Desmond's favourite to replace Brendan Rodgers, and that the backroom team will be coming with him. Another couple of names that were in there as well was an analyst called Max Chalier and a fitness chief called Jules Géjon. So that is it's a very French heavy coaching / fitness / analysis team that is coming in with him. And of course, there's already talk started about potential players that could join Wilfred Nancy in his switch to Celtic. So this is huge breaking, developing news, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of updates between now and the official appointment of Wilfred Nancy. Until Celtic release the statement, and until we have the article which actually details all of the exacts about everything, then, you know, everything's all hearsay and supposed. We don't exactly know what members of staff are coming with him yet. I would put my house on Wilfred Nancy becoming the next Celtic manager. What I wouldn't do is put my house on who joins him alongside him. In terms of what members of staff, in terms of what players he's interested in bringing. A lot of it is still very much up for talking about and debate, and there's still a long way to go there. So, Yeah, it's going to be a big week. It's going to be a big week. The French connection of Celtic in recent years has been very successful. When you think back to the likes of Moussa Dembele in 2016, Odsonne Edouard 2017, etc. You know, we have a good French connection so far at the club, and I'm hoping that continues with the appointment of Wilfried Nancy. On that note, I still get that there is a lot of scepticism. I still get that there is a lot of doubt about what happens with the appointment of Wilfried Nancy, and I get that. I truly do, because before Brendan Rodgers resigned, I had never heard of the guy, and even a few days after the resignation of Dermot Desmond, I would be a flat out liar if I said I ever considered Wilfried Nancy for the next Celtic manager. But I think all you can do is go into things with an open mind, go into things hoping for the best, and go into things realising that this is a good coach. I'm not going to repeat all the things that I've already said over the past few weeks since we were initially linked with Wilfried Nancy and when he emerged as a very serious candidate for the Celtic job. But I will remind you that this is clearly somebody that's in this position for a reason. It's not just a name that's been picked out of a hat. This is a guy that has been successful so far in his very short coaching career, and he's somebody who clearly Celtic are trying to get in ahead of as he's been looked at by other teams. We looked at that report last week on this channel saying that the likes of Saint-Etienne in France, the likes of Rennes in France, and the likes of Reims in France were all, or Reims, however you pronounce it, were all looking at Wilfried Nancy as a potential future manager options. So this is somebody who was eventually going to get a crack at the whip somewhere in Europe. It just so happens it's Celtic that has taken that step forward and they've given him the job. I'm very excited about it. I am. Listen, I'm not defending the board. I'm not defending their decision making. I think this board should hang their head in shame. Do I think that Celtic should be able to go out and appoint more known and better managers? In an ideal world, absolutely. I also understand that at this point in time, that's very, very difficult for Celtic. The mess that we're in doesn't exactly make this the most attractive of places to be. So maybe this is where we are with our options. But I'm open-minded about it. I'm really excited about it. The more I read about the guy, the more I understand about him, the more I'm willing to give it a serious shot, and I will back him. I will back him from day dot, and I'm pretty sure the majority of Celtic fans will. I raised a point on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, and I'll not take this back. A few people picked up a bit of an issue with this. A few people were just not happy with my wording. I'll stand by it. I say it with my chest. The whole point in having an opinion and having a channel like this. There will be albeit a very, very small, and I mean a very small minority, there will be people in the Celtic support that are dying for Wilfried Nancy to fail. That's the truth. There will be people, albeit a very small amount, but there will be, just to get their point proven on. I keep forgetting to turn my speakers off, and then when I get a notification, I shit myself. And mostly because, you know, they've said that they didn't want him from the start, and they've said that with their chest. So there will be that very small element, and I know there'll be people that will be there waiting for if things go wrong to go, we told you so, I told you so, because people are like that. But I hope this is a guy that can come out by the end of his Celtic tenure, or even by the end of this season, have people going, what an appointment, what a coach, and hopefully he can build a real strong relationship with us. The same way that many Celtic managers have. I mean, I'm not, once again, I don't want to get dragged into the comparisons because I think it could be very cheap and very lazy with Ange Postecoglou, but he came in as this unknown, and he left with one of the strongest connections there's ever been between a Celtic supporter and a Celtic manager. We loved the guy, we were banging our chests with him, we were devastated when he left. I want that to be replicated with Wilfried Nancy. I want that to be the case. So he's got my full backing from day dot. If he can pull this team out of the rut that it's in right now in regards to the feeling around the place, this quality of the squad and everything else, you know, he'll be an absolute miracle worker to me. So I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. And I of course would have loved a Kieran McKenna, or I of course would have loved a Kjetil Knutsen, or I would have loved one of these top names. But it's Wilfried Nancy, and that's that. So I'm welcoming it. I'm looking forward to it, and I will get to all your opinions in the chat. So please bear with me. We will get there. Very quick shout out to Mortal again, who donated another 5 channel memberships. Please give a big thank you to Mortal in the chat if you picked him up, mate. You're a legend. Thank you. You don't need to do that, but I love it. Thank you very much. And Connor, thank you for the £5 saying, all right, Ryan, I like the scarf behind you. Plough Boys, it's an amazing pub. And as well, I'll back Nancy. He's a good manager. Just go listen to people talk about him. Exactly. I mean, he's got a fantastic write-up. He's had, I've seen very little bad things said about him by those who have either worked with him or watched him. I've seen more good than anything else, so that fills me with a confidence. And I get there's that uncertainty. I wouldn't blame you for having an uncertainty or a pessimism or just if you're just generally scared about the appointment. I understand that. But I can't help but come back to the point. This is the final thing I'll say right now on the actual appointment itself. I can't help but reiterate the point that any manager can fail in this job. We have appointed far more proven men, and they have failed at the job as Celtic manager. The most recent example I can think of, and I brought this up in a couple of Tony Mowbray. The guy came in having great experience in Scotland with Hibs, being a former Celtic player, doing a really stellar job down in England with West Brom. Probably a better job at West Brom than what Kieran McKenna's been doing with Ipswich. And he got the Celtic job, much to the excitement of many people, and we've seen how it went. It went terribly. And he's not the only guy that's failed. I think that this is a job that ultimately, anybody can fall to the pressure. One or two bad results can get you down and you might not be able to hack it. I don't think because you've managed in Columbus in the MLS means that you're just automatically disqualified from having a crack at it. Is it me blindly defending the appointment by the board? No, but what I'm saying is I just think that anybody could fail at this job. There wasn't a guarantee that a Knutson would come in and succeed. There wasn't a guarantee that a McKenna would come in and succeed. So the way I look at it is any managerial appointment is a risk. Some risks are bigger than others, but it's certainly one that I'm excited about. So that's the kind of rapid developments. We'll talk about Nancy, of course, throughout the stream because he's going to be the huge topic of conversation. But on that note, Wilfred Nancy might not be the only person coming over from the MLS, if reports are to be believed. And I can't help but stress right now, these are only murmurs. I wouldn't read into them too much right now. However, of course, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And we'll turn over to the signing rumour just now that I see people asking about in the chat. This was the Daily Record's kind of writing on. It wasn't the Record who broke the exclusive. It was just the first article I seen pop up about it. And I will talk about it here. So, apparently Wilfred Nancy will reportedly push to bring free-scoring Palestine striker Wissam Abu Ali with him into Celtic, who currently plays for Columbus Crew in America, only signed in the summer, in fact, valued currently around €6 million, according to Transfermarkt. Apparently he's one of the players that Wilfred Nancy really wants to bring over. So it was the Sun, I think, who broke the exclusive, and that's why I say take everything with a pinch of salt, saying that he's apparently a target for one of Nancy's. I keep doing that. I keep using the word apparently. I'm like that wee boy. And do you remember the fucking apparently? You know what I'm talking about? You know the one? You know the one. If you were chronically online in 2011 or whatever year it was, you would know what I'm talking about. But yeah, he signed from Al Ahly for $6 million in the summer. And he actually played at the Club World Cup for Al Ahly. He scored a hat-trick against Porto, I believe, at the Club World Cup. I think it was Porto. But he played at the Club World Cup, got a move to Columbus Crew with Wilfred Nancy, and now, allegedly, he wants to bring him over to Celtic. Diego Rossi is another name that's been mentioned, which I really like the look of, but that's for another conversation. He is a Palestinian international. Wasn't born in Palestine. I believe he was born in Denmark, of all places, but represents the Palestinian national team through, of course, his Palestinian family, and he has been linked with Celtic following, of course, the signing of Wilfred Nancy. And I think that's probably quite an easy story to write. Even if there's not truth in it, I think people would have picked up on the fact Celtic need a striker. They've got a striker over there. Could that be the one? His name has been thrown up. I wouldn't get dragged into it too much. There is also, and I see somebody bring up in the chat, one of the things that does worry me about Wissam Abu Ali, who by all accounts looks like a good player. Just to go through his career very, very quickly. At Al Ahly, he scored 38 goals and assisted 10 in 60 games. Fantastic record. So far in the MLS with Columbus Crew, he's only played 5, but he scored 3 goals in those 5 games. Of course, he's played at other clubs before that as well. His career record right now at professional football stands at 242 appearances, 115 goals, which is a fantastic record. And then he's got 4 goals for his national side as well with Palestine. So he's certainly somebody that knows where the net is, and at only 26 years of age, you're looking at somebody that's about to head into these prime years. Could be a very, very good player. However, the one thing that does put me off about him a little bit is when you look at his injury record. It was a fantastic article wrote by 67 Hail earlier today, and I'll give a shout out to Patrick over there who wrote the article about his injury record. It's not a very good document to read. 2019, broken collarbone, missed 4 games. 2021, unknown injury, 7 games missed. He got COVID in 2020, which is unfair to bring up, but still. Unknown injury in 2020 again, he missed 3 games. Then in 2021, he had heart problems, which kept him out for 18 games. So he missed a huge chunk of time. He was out for about 9 months, I think, with heart problems, which was massive. 2021 again, lung contusion. Bit of a strange one. You never really hear of people having lung contusion in football. And he was out for 3 games with that. It was a 29-day issue. Then a muscle injury in 2023, out for 5 games. Hamstring injury in 2024, out for another 5 games. And then most recently, the one that's had him out since signing for Columbus. The reason he's only played 5 games for Columbus Crew is because he's got an ankle injury right now, which is ongoing, that has kept him out for the last 7 games. He's been out for roughly 65 days as of time we record, and that's his kind of recent injury record in these last 6 years. So, I mean, heart problems, lung contusion, ankle injuries, hamstring injuries, a broken collarbone. I mean, the last thing that Celtic need is another injury-prone player. We have far too many, but that means, we're destined to sign him. We're destined to sign him because we love signing players with injury issues. So, he is a name that's popping up right now. I don't think that anything will come of this. If you want my honest truth, let me say this without being any form of controversial. I think that the Daily Record and the Sun and all of these writers over there who've broke the story have probably went, there's a Palestinian striker that plays for Columbus Crew. Makes a lot of sense for Celtic Football Club, doesn't it? And I think that it was probably a very easy article for them to write. I'm not saying that there isn't a chance that Wilfred Nancy wants to bring him here, because he's very clearly a very talented striker. His goal record speaks for itself. You don't score that many goals without being a good striker. But I think that it is a little bit of an easy story to write, and I wouldn't get too dragged into it right now. For Christ's sake, put it this way. The guy's not even in the door yet, and I'm talking about Nancy. He's not even manager officially. He's not been announced as Celtic manager. So I don't think there's a point in getting too dragged into talking about his first signings when the guy isn't even through the door yet. The good thing is, and this is why I think it's so, people will be heartbroken, and this is the last thing I'll say before going into a Q&A. I think a lot of people are maybe heartbroken, and especially an element of the older support, that Martin O'Neill isn't going to be in charge for the cup final, and I get that. I would have loved to have seen Martin O'Neill get a crack at the whip in that cup final and get to add another trophy to his illustrious Celtic career. But I think we can't understate the importance of Nancy getting time to evaluate this squad so he knows exactly what he needs going into the January window. And don't get me wrong, the January window isn't going to be a quick fix for Celtic. Like, the work that Nancy needs to do to get this Celtic squad in order and his conditions, it's going to take this window coming up, and it's going to take the summer window as well. So it's not going to all happen in January. But I think that he needs that month of December to go, don't want him, he's not going to work for me, and he needs to be able to understand that. So I get it, not having O'Neill to have that fairy tale ending, riding off into the sunset with the League Cup might hurt. But I think it's absolutely necessary that the next permanent manager of Celtic Football Club gets more time. And you might go, it's only 14 days. It's only 14 days. 2 weeks is a lot of time. There's a lot of football to be played. It's a lot of time to work on the training ground and realise who's good for you and who's not. So I think it's vital that he gets that time. And we'll see, come the 1st of January, I think we'll have more ideas as to who Celtic actually want and who Wilfred Nancy actually wants to bring to the club. So that's the last thing I'm going to say on regards to that. We'll get into the Q&A very quickly before I do though. Nathan saying, Ryan, can you ask Timothy Bardsley, Daniel Rogan and Margie McChatty to message me on Twitter/X, please? Nathan's in the chat. If you heard your name mentioned there, if you've donated £10 to the charity link that we talked about at the start of the stream to try and win the Callum McGregor signed shirt, please get in touch with Nathan on Twitter. He's left, I'll bring it back up on screen very, very quickly for everybody just in case. So If you are entering for the Callum McGregor signed shirt, here is Nathan's Twitter on screen in the bright green text, and you can get in touch with him if you've donated £10. So 19 spots left. I'm sure a few of them have already been taken. If you want to go and win that signed Callum McGregor shirt, everything, all the instructions are on screen. Hope that's good, Nathan. If you need anything else, let me know. Also, another shout out to Mortal for gifting another 5 memberships, mate. You're on fire. You're on fire. And a shout out as well to Nikaritsu. Sorry I never got to it, my man. You're a legend. It's good to see in the chat. Been a while since I bought you a pint. Cheers to a proper legend and a brilliant channel. Nikaritsu, if you're here, I'm here. And God bless you. In the words of a great. So there you go. Right, let's get into the Q&A for the next kind of 15 minutes or so. I'll probably stay on. So 12 spots left in the Callum McGregor shirt giveaway, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you to the 7 people watching the stream who have already chipped in for the food bank donations. If you want a spot, there is 12 left. Get in touch with Nathan. Use the links on screen. Right, questions, let's go. As I said, we'll stay on until 20 to 8 tonight, a wee 10 minutes longer than I usually would, and we'll try and get through all your questions. Would you loan Dane Murray to a team like St Mirren and Motherwell? I'd sell him to a team like St Mirren and Motherwell. Jake, I'm happy with the appointment, Ryan. We haven't went for a cheap Celtic man option like I thought we would have. We've got to give the man time to get results. They won't come straight away, but trust the manager. Listen, there's nothing to suggest the results won't come straight away. They might. You know, he might hit the ground running. But I do think that we'll face struggles. I do. Especially if we're changing the system. I don't know how deep. I've seen one of the questions that I've been hit with the most in my comment section over these past few weeks is, will he come in and go straight into like 5 or 3 at the back, whatever it is he plays? I'm like, maybe, but nobody has the answer to that question. Nobody does. And if there's anybody pretending they do, then tell them to shut up. They don't know. Wilfred Nancy knows. He knows. Nobody knows if he's going to come in and scrap the 4 at the back and go straight for his tactic first game, or if he's going to try and wait until January, get his players through, get his system more embedded in the training ground. You know, nobody has the answers to these questions. But we will face struggles, and we've got to be patient through that. But let's hope domestically we hit the ground running straight away. Ewan on the top of that says, hopefully Nancy is allowed to bring in his own players like Ange did. Ange's signings were refreshing and exciting, and we've lacked those kind of signings in recent years. Don't trust the board. I don't trust the board either. But yeah, listen, as I said, the boy Diego Rossi of Columbus Crew looks a player. Looks an absolute baller. And I'm all for it. I am all for it. Mortal on that note says, ignore the shape bollocks. Nancy will be adaptable. He will play whatever he plans on. It's all very similar, so it won't matter. What matters is the players playing with style. Yeah, from what I've read, the guy seems to be an adaptable manager, which I think we had this conversation today, me and one of my mates. I think that managers are becoming less and less adaptable in football. And I don't mean to slaughter them, right? But there's 2 at the top level in recent times I can think of. In England. One, Ruben Amorim, who cannot adapt, who is very, very one-sided, one-dimensional. The other, who cost him his job, was Ange Postecoglou, refused to adapt and refused to change things. And I think that it's not just they two, they're just the easy ones to, I think, single out. I think that coaches and managers are becoming less adaptable. But from what I've read, it seems like Nancy is able to adapt. And I think that's very, very important in football. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on everything that the guy does, but we'll just have to trust the process and trust time. As simple as that. Any players you think we could thrive under Nancy? I remember you said KT because of the back 5, but has anybody else come to mind? He is one that I think he is one that definitely jumps to my mind straight away, because I think using him as a left centre half could be beneficial at this stage of his career. As for on top of that, I think Callum McGregor, just because the role that he's had at Celtic in the last 2 years, I think is clearly proven that he's not got the legs to do that anymore. He needs more support in that area of the park, in the middle of the park, especially when he sits deeper. He can't cover the way he used to cover. He just can't. He's not got the legs for it. It's nothing to do with his ability. It's just to do with legs and fitness and age coming in, all these factors. It's only natural for players to get older and to have less about them and covering a field. So I think that if you suddenly have that extra player behind you in a back 3, if you suddenly have wing backs who can come up and down the park, probably deeper levels in the park as well, I think it should help McGregor from having to go left to right, deep forward, whatever. I think that he's somebody to look out for under this system. I think he could be benefiting from it massively. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Thank you to Jake for becoming a supporter of the channel. I appreciate that, brother. That's very much. Engels and Bernardo, says Francis. I'd be surprised if Bernardo's still here, but who knows? Maybe Nancy will really like him. But I just have this feeling. I think most people have this feeling that we could see him go. How long will it take him to leapfrog Hearts, says Jack Frost. What a name at this time of year. When do we play Hearts again? 2 weeks? 2 weeks, mate. 2 weeks. That's going to get clipped by the Hearts fans now. I'm only joking. We'll soon see. I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm thinking at a game at a time, to be honest. Big for Balikwisha as he can get to play in the 10. Balikwisha's a strange one. He's not showed any quality to get into the team, let alone to get into the 10 role. So I'm not going to speak too much on Balikwisha right now until we start seeing more quality on the park from him, because it's not as if Nancy's going to come in and shove him straight at the start 11 if he's playing as poorly in training as he's playing when he gets in the game, when he gets a game. So wait and see. David Turnbull saying, picking up on your McGregor point, Ryan, we need to start dropping him for smaller games when we don't necessarily need to rely on him. I agree with that. I think that less minutes would be huge for McGregor, but I think it's also worth remembering, and it's really hard to remember this, but he is the captain, and dropping the captain is significant. Like, that is, it's not as easy to happen, especially when McGregor wants to play as well. So we'll wait and see. Will I become a Nancy simp if he does well? Of course I will. I'm already simping. I simp after any Celtic match. The way that I always look at it is, the Celtic manager, unless their initials is NL, deserve respect, and I will give them my respect and my support until there's a reason not to support them. Like Neil Lennon taking the piss out of us. But aye. Quinny was suggesting Taneke as a left wing back. He would know more than me, but I didn't think he would have that in his skill set. Once again, not for me to evaluate. Nancy will be far better at doing that in the training ground. I think that it depends on what the left wing back is expected to do, because the left wing back is a very, very general term that gets used. A lot of times, a lot of these managers that play like three at the back formations with these wing backs, a lot of them don't actually, do defensive work. Like, I've watched 5 at the back tactics played in Europe or whatever, and it's like these wing backs aren't doing any defensive work. They are just being used as wingers. It all depends on what shape they take when they're coming back to defend, when they're transitioning and stuff like that. I'm not qualified enough to talk about the tactical nuance in that regard, but what I will say is Taneke for me is somebody who I'm not sold on yet. I'm not going to cry out for anything in regards to the left hand side right now. I'll judge it over time, to be quite honest with you. I wouldn't go as far as dropping Calmac, says Kieran Moore, but if there's games where we're 3-0 up in the 60th minute, I'd sub him off. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it as well. That's my thoughts on it. That's the way that I would word it. Like, there's some times where you're like, why is he even still on the park? Get him off. Let's get him off the park. To be quite honest. We'll keep getting your questions in. We've got about 8 more minutes, so to pull them in. Maida would have been perfect for left wing back. Maida's rotten. People are going to be starting unsubscribing from me in their droves, although he has been pished this season. I'm not going to hide that. Taneke is just an expensive Mikey Johnson, says Jack. Do you know what? Honestly, not far off saying that myself. How many will we get? So I think that's a big question. That's a good question from David, because I think this is going to be the question on everybody's minds as December finishes and January creeps up on us. And the thing with how many will we get in January is such a difficult question to answer, because nobody knows exactly how we're going to set up yet. And all we know is, like, there are a couple of areas where we definitely need players. For example, we need a striker. I don't care how many we've got at the club. I don't care if we've got Kenny and Iheanacho and Yamada and Osmond. None of them are prove anything to become Celtic's rely. I don't care what you say about Kenny. I like Kenny, and I would love to give him more chances. But is he the proving number 9 goal scorer at Celtic? No, absolutely not. And you'd be kidding yourself on if you said he is. Iheanacho is Iheanacho, he probably won't be here beyond next season. And Yamada and Osmond's out injured till God knows when, and Yamada is no getting a look in by any manager. So that speaks volumes there. We need a proven striker. We need a right winger. And beyond that, I think the rest of the squad is like up for Nancy to come in and decide what he needs. So when I get asked the question, how many will we get? You obviously want to turn round there and go like, oh, I would love 5 or 6 signings. Are we going to be able to make 5 or 6 signings in the January window? Probably not. That would also indicate that we need to get rid of like 5 or 6 players. Once again, don't know if we'll do that. Registration issues if we make it through to Europe, which we won't, obviously need to come into... There's so many different points to consider when it comes to signing players in the January window. I think it's really hard to nail down an answer. I would expect Celtic to make at least 3 signings in January. And whether we go beyond that, I think it's up to the demands that Wilfred Nancy puts down there. And I hope he's a kind of manager, and I think he will be, who does demand more. But we saw what Rodgers was sold, he didn't get. We've seen all these quotes about managers in the past talking about how the Celtic board have dealt with them. It'll be hard to tell. Thank you to Marty for becoming a supporter of the channel. And Mortal, you may as well give me your wage. Son, no, I appreciate it. Thank you again. Well done to anybody who picked up those wee channel memberships there, courtesy of Mortal. Make sure to give him a big thank you for the channel donations. We'll see you during the week for an FM for a Q&A streaming over the next few days as well for another Football Manager stream as well. Of course, the FM series has started over there. Mr. Mortal saying we'll make 6, 7 signings. Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. Not in a public stream. Maybe in a member stream. I ain't getting clipped doing all that. No way. No way 600 odd people watching. I've built my credibility thus far. I'm not losing it over the sake of 6, 7. Christ. Do we sign Moreira for right centre back if he wants a back free? I don't know who Moreira is. Not going to beat around the bush. Tartan Psycho says, Ryan, do you think he will sign young French talent from France or talent in the MLS who want a shot in Europe? I think that, do you know what? Here's my opinion. I think we read into these things too much as a support. I do. I think we do. I think that, especially because Ange came in and kind of raided Japan, it really set us off and stuff like that. I don't, listen, Nancy's going to have facilities and the ability to sign players at Celtic that he didn't have at Columbus Crew. It's like when you're playing Football Manager and you're managing a team in a certain country, you've got a very restricted budget and you're like, oh, we can only do this or that. And then you get the next job, you move up the ladder and then you're like, oh wow, I can sign whoever I fucking want now. Like, obviously Nancy doesn't get to sign whoever he fucking wants, but he's going to have such a wider scouting range to pick from. And he's going to have people that have been working at the club for years with suggestions, with analytical packages there for him. And I do not trust the scouts at Celtic for a second, by the way, because they clearly aren't good enough. But he's going to have a different environment to work in. And I think that changes how he signs players. I don't think it's going to be he might sign 1 or 2 players from the MLS, which I'm all for. If they're good enough, get them in. But I also think that he'll probably go, there's players that I would like to sign from here, here, and here that I couldn't sign at Columbus Crew. Maybe players who are playing in, I don't know, Germany, or playing in Colombia, or playing in Sweden. Players that they just couldn't get in due to registration issues because of just generally not wanting to go to the MLS. You know, things will be very, very different for him at Celtic. So I always think we read into these like things too much. Oh, he's French. That means he's going to sign so many French people. Nearly knocked over my stuff there. He's going to sign so many French people, or he's going to sign so many players from the MLS. I don't think there's anything to indicate that that's going to happen. It's all just about waiting, and all these 6, 7s in the chat are going to drive me insane. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Will Nancy's backroom staff change things up for us to become more competent, or ultimately will it not matter due to the Desmonds? I would like to imagine that the footballing operations can separate itself from the Desmonds. So listen, I'm hoping that we see a good freshness in the team. We need the less I talk about the board on this stream, the better. I'm fed up talking about them, to be honest, but let's get them out. Simple as that. There's Mortal again with another 5. You wanted me just to do the thing, like you can't see I'm doing it down here, you know, but I'm not he's to give us the 6, 7. Have I got to do it just because you've gifted another 5 memberships? How many times is that you've donated now? Is it like, I don't know, Die, Ryan, die. Cheers for the memberships, Mortal. Cheers. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mate. You're an absolute legend. It's good to have you. In the chat. Doesn't count. That'll be right. Doesn't count. That'll be right. Is that 30 tonight? God's sake. 30 channel memberships by Mortal, by the way. That's huge. Thank you, Mortal, mate. Everybody, give that guy a round of applause. 100% Peter Lawwell on a burner trying to get you back on side. Listen, there's not much you can do there. Not much you can do. There we go. There's the channel away. Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. I've ruined it. That's it. Me away. They're the channel away. Cancelling Thunder Club after that. Yep. That's not great. Bro, you're 25. I'm unk, as they say. I'm unk. Jesus, God almighty. That's the last ever time that happens in this channel, by the way. That stays between us. There's 630 people watching, by the way. Right, come on, couple more questions to finish off. Back to being serious. I said I'd wrap it up at 28, but because of the disaster that was me getting forced into getting guilt tripped into doing the 6-7 patter, I felt like that I need to get things back on track a little bit. So many comments coming through. I'm trying to see as many as I can. You can understand the chat is flying. Do you think that scouting at Celtic, it was the scouting at Celtic that found Nancy, or a certain Canadian right back who played under him that wised them up? I would be shocked if Alistair Johnson had even a sliver of a conversation to do with this. No, from what we're reading, Paul Tisdale was very influential in it. And as Paul Tisdale is supposedly the football doctor, you would imagine that he does have his finger on the pulse of many different footballing nations. I'd imagine that it was mostly due to him. I don't think Alistair Johnson would have had any say in the matter. They may have asked him about him. Alistair, wait a minute. You heard of this Wilfred character, right? Okay, but I don't think that it was was anything to do with Alistair Johnson putting out any suggestions. So wait and see. Best team to play free at the back right now. What you're asking? What free at the back I would play with what we have? With what we have right now, you would have probably Scales and Trusty, obviously, and then like when Vickers is back, Vickers. But without Vickers, yeah, we need another centre half. I don't want Dane Murray in there. I just don't think he's good enough. And I think that in Simpson Pusey, like for the time being, I suppose you could throw in there. But we need another centre half to make that work. Definitely. Right. Okay. Do you know what? On that note, I'm going to wrap things up before I get cancelled for doing whatever that was. Right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being part of the stream. Thank you to everybody who donated. Once again, quickly before I go, can I give one last push towards Nathan's charity drive for the local food bank, or his local food bank. You can either scan the QR code and donate with that, or use the link that's pinned to the top of the chat. There was, at the beginning of the stream, 19 spots left for a £10 entry. I don't know how many are left now, but get in touch with Nathan. If you donate, he'll get you sorted out. His contact detail is on screen. There is names that are still to message Nathan if you're watching, if you've not logged off yet. So I'm waiting for Nathan to shove some names in here. Look, Nathan, do you know what? If they never get in touch, you've got some extra money to give to the food bank. So it's not the end of the world, I suppose. But if you haven't, please message Nathan on Twitter. If you have donated £10, get in touch with Nathan, and that will ensure that you're in the draw to win the signed Callum McGregor shirt. So Timothy Bardsley, Daniel Rogan, Margie McChatty, Paul Joseph and Fraser Carlin. If you haven't, get in touch with Nathan via @NathanGreen on Twitter. So, there you go. Right, that's me wrapping up for tonight. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. Wilfred Nancy. You're so Nancy.